my name's Ariel, and if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I do mostly resin videos. But if you're here today watching this video right here, well, it's time for me to say stop to resin. I've been doing resin for about 1 year or slightly over 1 year. Started late last year, and I really enjoyed myself doing resin. But as time goes by, I realized how resin is really harmful for our body, and I gained so much more knowledge along the way. And knowing all this knowledge, it makes me be like, oh, okay, now that I understand more, I think since I understand more, I should really want to be mindful of my own health and my own well-being. So that's why I'm gonna stop doing resin. So because it's 2020 this year, many of us have to stay home, right? So there's a lot of newfound hobbies here and there, people finding new hobbies, people finding new skills, people learning new things every day. And the resin community actually really grew very big, and I feel so happy for you if you are one of them, because welcome to the family. But I still think that there are some things that you should take note of before you do resin. So even if you haven't started doing resin, or if you started doing resin, it's still not too late to know about all these facts. So for me, what exactly happened to me when I started to have all these rashes, all these bumps and everything. So I will show you some pictures. So yes, all those pictures of me and the cause of resin. So what exactly happened? Well, I have all these rashes, these really red bumps, and they're so itchy and they're so painful, and it's so inflamed. So they're all over my face, my neck, and my thigh area. And I didn't had this problem when I first started resin. It happened a few months later, and then I realized that, hey, actually resin is bad, it's not good. Because along the way I found this Facebook group called Epoxy is Not My Friend. And if you don't know about this group, and if you're thinking of starting out resin or you've started resin, then I would advise you to please join that group, because that group is so it's really filled with people who have experience with resin. So there's people who can guide you through there, and people can tell you their experience with resin. And the group is not meant to scare you or anything, but it's to really tell you facts about resin and how you can protect yourself. So I understand there are many resin companies that say that their resin is non-toxic, but really actually resin by itself is quite toxic. So even if it's non-toxic, there is still an element of harmfulness to the body, and it's really not good to keep going close direct with resin if you do not have the proper PPE, or if you do not have the proper space. So it's really very important to adhere by all these so-called rules, because again, resin is not it's not a toy. It produces chemical. So even when you are mixing the resin ratio, be it 1 part 3 1 UV resin. By the way, UV resin sucks the most to me, because it smells so bad. I used that for that one time, and I did not want to use it anymore. I just threw it away because the smell is seriously so bad. Okay. So even though you're mixing, when you're mixing things, you are really releasing all these toxic chemicals out into your open space wherever you are at. And even when you're not mixing, even when your items are curing, that means when they are beginning to harden up and everything, they're still releasing harmful toxins out into the open. And that is why your choice of living space, or rather your craft station, is very, 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 very important. Number one, do not use resin in your living space. So what is living space? Well, that's obviously your home, okay? So if you're using resin at a living room or in your own bedroom, then I would advise you to please stop it. Don't use it there anymore, because really it's not good for your body. And I mean, if you think you don't mind harming yourself through that way because you don't see any effects, well then can I just ask you to please be considerate to your family members, if you have any, or pets even. So yes, just really be mindful that your living space condition is not meant for resin at all, okay? And where I stay in Singapore, okay, not all of us stay in landed property, right, my fellow Singaporeans? So most of us stay in HDB and we don't really have much space to do this kind of thing. So I would say that, if you're staying in HDB and if you have an extra spare room and you really want to do resin, go ahead. Use that room only as your craft room. For example, that your room for resin or whatever crafts things, but do not sleep in that area. Okay, and it's very important to also have a well ventilated space. So if you're doing your resin in a room, okay, not living space, in a room or in your studio or in your shed, just really make sure that your space is well ventilated. Your windows are open, your doors are open, possible you can on the fan, but never on the air conditioner, okay? Because my first mistake when I did resin for the first time was on the aircon, because in Singapore it's just so humid. So I on the aircon, but little did I know that the resin fumes, the smell actually carried out throughout my other two rooms in my house. And of course the smell was so bad and it stayed in my the other rooms for a long period of time. And I just hope that you don't want that smell, you don't want the fumes. So even if you can't smell the resin, the fumes is still there. Number two, the most important thing as well, is to wear full PPE. So from keeping your hair into a net, to wearing goggles, to wearing mask, to wearing a full gown suit from head to toe, a long sleeve shirt or whatever. These are the things that you need to wear when you're doing resin. Okay, and why do you need to protect yourself until like this? This is because we don't want any resin droplets to touch on your skin, because if it touches, then you'll probably have a reaction like me. And even if it's not seen through the naked eyes, you don't know how it's going to affect you in whatever ways. So it's really important to wear full PPE, and please do not wear just a normal what do you call it, surgical mask, or a normal N95 mask. Those two masks are really of no use, they're not gonna help you. So what you need is a respiratory mask, and go ahead and buy better brands, and not a very cheap brand, because uh, I mean, you need a better quality one. Okay, and make sure to find the one with the right size for your face. And I don't know if I mentioned, but you need to wear gloves as well. They are super important, gloves. Important thing to me is that you should really make sure that your space is clean, especially after you use the resin. Just make sure there is no spillage anywhere. And when you're sanding the resin, those actually can release fumes as well. So make sure that when you're sanding, you are really doing it near a dustbin, or somewhere that you can easily throw all those residue away, instead of flying all over the floor or whatever. So really just be clean and tidy when you're doing resin. So to me, those three are the top things that you should be mindful of when you're starting out resin. I know it might not seem much, but really, you need to protect yourself and your health, okay? You might not have rashes or reactions like me, but you never know what will happen if you breathe too much of the fumes in. And like I say, it's not just about you, but the people around you, when you're doing the crafts. I know it's fun, and I know it's interesting and everything, but I think it's also a craft that needs a lot of knowledge about, which I did not have when I first started out. And yeah, now that I know about all these things, I am really going to stop doing resin until at least I get my own room that I can do all these things, or I can find a studio for myself to do all this resin art. So yes, like I said, if you have any questions, you can go ahead to comment, and I will try to reply them if I have the right answers to. If not, please feel free to visit and join the Facebook group Epoxy is Not My Friend, because like I said, you know, it's really real experience and real knowledge coming from real people who have experience with resin before. So if you're just starting out, you're not sure and you don't know, then go ahead and join these Facebook groups and to really go and educate yourself and to know more about resin. So yeah, so I understand that even though there's only a very tiny following on my YouTube channel, very tiny, and very little views, but if you have followed me especially because I do resin and now that I'm not doing resin anymore, then I understand why you are gonna unsubscribe if you do. But if not, I just hope that, you know, you and I can be friends and that we can go along on this YouTube journey together. And I just really wish all of you well and to really stay safe and to also use resin safely. And if you are thinking of this craft, please, I hope I am not scaring you, but I want to educate you. So I hope that you will really listen to whatever I say, because those are really important. You may not see the outcome in the you might not see the negative side in the short term, but if you do it long term and if you're doing with your old habits, then I mean, I'll be worried for you. So yes, thank you for watching my video. If you've watched the entire video, I would say thank you, and yeah, God bless you. Bye bye.